Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I think we've got quite a broad mix of people from different places. So I am in Vancouver, Canada, originally from England, and this is kind of my thoughts and ideas on agentic browsers and kind of what that's going to mean to us as content folks, people in the creative sphere and in the kind of digital world. So as I said, these are my views. Feel free to disagree, to bring a counter argument and ask as many questions. I may not have the answers because this is a very new space, but I will see what I can do. So AI, we've all probably been told we need to add AI to our next project, or we need to use more AI in the work that we're doing. It's kind of similar rhetoric to what we had when apps were new. Oh, we need an app for that. It's kind of the buzzword and the go-to for most people working in digital space. But AI is changing really on a daily basis, and not only in what it can do, but also where it lives, which is what brings me on to agentic browsers. So still very new. Uh, there's only one or two on the market at the moment, but most people in the browser space or the AI space are developing what they're referring to as agentic browsers. So what we mean by an agentic browser is it's a web browser, but it's got AI baked into it. So the browser itself can go and find content. It can collate it. It can synthesize it. You can ask it a task and it will go away and find things. So it can do this either just using the internet as a whole or using your open tabs, or given the correct permissions, it can access your emails, your Google Drives, your Dropbox, maybe even some of your local network drives. It can just access a huge array of data sources and go out and find information for you. And in the very small shots down at the bottom, what I have here is an example of what can happen. So a person has asked their browser to come up with a shopping list for Instacart, uh, and for the shop Walmart, for butter chicken and a Cobb salad. They have not given it any more parameters other than that. The browser has then gone and found what it deems to be the best recipes for those dishes, based on reviews and feedback and Reddit threads and things like that. So it's created, oh, this is the best recipe. I'm going to turn that into a shopping list. I'm then going to reference that against what the shop Walmart has in stock. I will then create the shopping list. And then at the end, all you need to do is press confirm, and the goods will arrive at your front door in the next few hours. So all of this is done without the user ever having to visit anyone's website, other than the final endpoint of clicking confirm. So it's changing the way that we could potentially interact with websites in order to get to content. But if you don't need to go to someone's website in order to get their messaging, who really is in control of the narrative? When we look at a website, brands and individuals like us, we spend a lot of time carefully crafting and owning the user experience. We create it to sound the way we want, to look the way we want. We put a lot of time and effort, and sometimes we have to jump through lots of legal hoops and sign-offs to get the approval for this is what our brand sounds like. This is the message we want, and this is how we want people to interact with it. But if you don't go through that website, you bypass the content, the tone, the style, the formatting. And what the end user might see, it's going to be vastly different. The words that are read aren't going to be the words that were written by individuals like us. So the tone might be different, the brand voice, the layout, the visuals that really support and add extra context to your storytelling they may appear, they might not even be seen by the user. So that experience will be vastly different to what was intended for the end user to interact with. And this extends to the chatbot experience as well. So I'm not sure how many of you have been working with chatbots. It's something that in the work I do, I've been doing more and more over the last couple of years. It's been increasing. It's been increasing a lot. But with chatbots, it's really a way for a brand not just to kind of appease the needs of a customer and to solve problems, but it's a way to do it with an approved response. And depending on what your product and what your brand is, this can be an extensive process to actually formalize and agree of, okay, this is the solution to this problem. And if someone doesn't go to your website, they're not going to reach your chatbot. So what support are they going to have? The agentic browsers, they don't have access to your kind of curated LLM. And this new AI approach, it might actually drive up direct contact. So you're trying to reduce calls and you've created this amazing chat experience, but if no one can access it, calls could increase, or the content that the agentic browser serves up, it might be misinterpreted, or it might not even be the content that you want your users to have and to interact with. And as for the chatbot models themselves, the decision tree style, the kind of create your own adventure, if this, then this, those will could potentially become redundant because they're not being accessed. And then from a user perspective, we're going to get used to these agentic experiences as a more tailored that just really they kind of hang on our every whim. So if you're experiencing that going through these browsers, and then you do go to someone's website and they have a very kind of robotic decision tree style model, it's not going to resonate anymore. So it could kind of kill these models just from an access perspective, but then when you do access it, they're just going to look old and redundant. And at the end of the day, and we've all experienced this before, there's few things that win out over convenience. This agentic browser experience, if it goes the way that we think it will, it's going to be so much more convenient than having to think of a website, go to that site, go to another site, compare multiple sites, when you can just go to one screen, ask it one thing, and it will find all the information you need. But this kind of thing has happened before. So I don't know how old the people in the room are, but if we think back to the dot-com boom and the high street and the shopping experience, the internet and websites had a dramatic effect to what retail shopping was like, and it killed a lot of high streets. But those that survived, they they had to take another tact. If you can't be quicker, a website was quicker than jumping in your car, driving somewhere, queuing up, getting the product. So if you can't be quicker, you need to find a way to be better. And those retailers, they needed to turn inconvenient trips into destinations. So I've got a few examples on the screen here. You've got a Lego store in the middle. So this one, prior to the dot-com boom, Lego didn't really sell many of their own products. They didn't really have a retail space. They sold a lot of their products through other retailers. So they were vying for shelf space with all kinds of other toys. And then that continued when you went on to online retailing. You were just one of many options in a big, big virtual toy shop. So they used this kind of experiential moment to own more of the retail experience. And they created their shops and they turned them into very hands-on experiences where you can play, you're engaging your customers outside of the purchase cycle. Lots of people are gonna go there with their children or even just themselves. I enjoy Lego as well, so lots of people are gonna go there, they're gonna play with Lego, might not buy something, but then next time they're gonna come back and go, "Oh, I had so much fun there. I'm gonna go and buy some of the Lego that I played with and I enjoyed with." Very similar story for Apple. They didn't really have a physical retail presence prior to the dot-com boom. Seems funny that a digital company at a digital boom created a physical retail space, but they were also being sold through other retailers, like in the States and Canada, people like Best Buy and like Comet and Dixon's in the UK, places like that. They embrace the same mentality. You can touch, you can feel, you can interact with people. Very, very tactile, very hands-on experience. And then at the top of the screen, this is a retailer in the US. There's similar ones in Canada. I'm not really aware of similar retailers when I lived in England, but it's a company called REI. It's an outdoor kind of adventure store. You buy your hiking shoes, your backpacks, your tents, bikes, kayaks, all that kind of stuff. But everything is run by experts. And then they have classes. You can go in there, you can learn, how do I make a fire? How do I repair this? How do I waterproof my tent? All those kind of things. So again, it leans into that experience. Yeah, I can pop in there and just buy like an energy bar or some new socks or some shoelaces or some hiking boots. Same as I could buy anywhere. But the reason I go here is I know I'm gonna have an experience. I'm gonna learn if I need to learn. If I have a question, someone there will have an answer, and it's an experience. So then when we start thinking about your website, why would someone visit your site? If they can consume all the content on your site, all the content on another site, just by going to one place, why would they go to your site? Why would they go to multiple websites? What is it that's worth their time and investment? So this is where I'm saying that as people working in the digital space, we need to really embrace the return of experiences and experiential websites. So we need to put more effort into aligning the business and marketing needs with the user needs. I think a lot of people and a lot of brands become a little bit executional with our web design work, and we're just pushing the message the brand wants. And oh, if someone aligns with our brand, then it'll be fine. They've bought into what we're doing. They're not putting enough effort into aligning the user needs and the business needs together. And we need to find more ways to engage those consumers outside of the purchase cycle. So we don't just want to be a point of sale. Oh, great. Here's the thing. Here's the price. Here's all the technical details. Go and buy it. We need to find a way to be engaging outside of that experience. And I've got some examples here. At the top, we've got Nike. On their website, you can build certain shoes. Obviously, this is a very purchase retail orientated experience, but a lot of people are just going to go and play. They're going to work out, oh, how can I create these running shoes in my favorite colors or in my team's colors, interact with it. What happens if I put all the padding, none of the padding, kind of what will it do? And they're going to kind of play and tinker with this multiple times outside of when they're buying. But when they want to buy, they're gonna remember, "Oh, yeah, I had so much fun with this shoe, and I know what it looks like. It looks like the one I want. Even if I don't buy the special one-off version, I buy the stock one. I spent so much time looking at it that it's become top of mind." Another great example at the bottom, Red Bull. They are, from a marketing perspective, they're all in on marketing. Their product is almost a side item at the moment from their massive ecosphere, from Formula One teams to giant sports events, football teams, rugby teams, all kind of things, all just geared around not necessarily promoting the drink that they make, but promoting the opportunities for where their product is needed. And their marketing content, their event coverage is a huge draw to people that are in those kind of customer groups. It can have a lot of fans of Red Bull that maybe never even touch the drink. But if they did need a pick me up drink, they didn't want a coffee, Red Bull is going to be at the back of their mind at all times because that's the brand name they see every time they want to look at new Formula One content or new cycling content. It's going to resonate. It's going to be sat there at the back of their mind. And then as middle example, this is one that I worked at for the company that I'm employed for. It's recently acquired, but it was called Willow Tree. It's now part of TELUS. In in the States, we have big liquor agencies for certain states. They basically control how and where alcohol is sold. You can't just nip into an off license and grab a drink or go to a supermarket and grab a drink. You have to buy it from a certain place and it's all controlled. So they had a site where people used to just go in, is it in stock? What's the price? Great, I'll go buy it. But it wasn't really building any interaction, any brand relevance. So we created a site where we had recipe content and backstories on brands and drinks and things like that. So again, it just built up that reputation. It created that experience. So how do we do that? As people in the design and content community, what are we going to do to kind of embrace this? How do we tackle this new agentic experience that's coming? We need to create destinations that have immersive content. We need to create a reason for people to want to visit. Resources, sources of inspiration. We want to become that digital arm around the shoulder when someone needs support, not just here's the product, buy it. It's like, oh, you have a need, here is how we can address it. And we want to tighten and refine some of these virtual agent experiences, pushing quality over quantity, and start thinking of our site almost like an LLM, almost like that content repository for the agentic browser. We want to be human centered. We want to focus on the needs of the visitors, but then we've got to think from that editorial experience. These browsers can't access it if it's in a database hidden away somewhere. So identifying those needs and surfacing them up on the website, then the browsers will be able to access that. From a design perspective, going back to purpose and direction. Don't just add glitter to something if it's going to distract me from the call to action. So often we add something that's cool and it's shiny, it's new, but does it really add any worth to the user? Or is it just a momentary sparkle that's going to cause a distraction down the line? We want our layouts to be intuitive and inviting, not just cutting edge. And although we want to focus on the human visitor, we need to keep that agentic browser in the back of our mind when we're creating our experiences. We should start now to prepare for the future. So, although these web browsers, these agentic browsers aren't that common now, they are coming, and everyone that's in this space is making one. So they're invested. They're going to take off at some point. So we should think about auditing and refining our content, reducing the clutter, going beyond static pages on our sites and creating more of an experience, leaning in on collaboration across design, content, and research to try and make that seamless experience based on what the consumer wants as well as what the brand needs, and some planning for longevity. So, if we start building more editorial spaces, we need to make sure they can stand up on their own once they grow and they keep growing. So design systems, taxonomy, editorial processes, and even things like AI guidelines. So often you can create something with a future in mind. And then once you've created this amazing thing, how do we maintain it? How do we keep going? We don't wanna create the most amazing library, but never put any books in it. And we need to learn from the past, embrace some of the mistakes we've made before, and create something better for the future. I don't know how many of you were around for the early days of SEO, but so much of the messaging in those early days was, how do we just make it better for bots? Keyword stuffing, white text on white backgrounds, put all the content everywhere, quantity over quality, just so that the search engines would find it and surface our site higher up in the results. But the search engines, they evolved and they became more user centric. And it is those sites that catered to the needs of the users that gained credibility, and they started to rise up the ranks within the search engines. So it's those ones that came out on top. And it's my belief that similar thing is going to happen within the agentic browsers. So we want to be very careful that we don't downgrade the user experience just to appease the bot experience, like we did in the early days of SEO. We need to obviously cater for these agentic browsers, but we want to find the most human centered approach to do that. So I said we need to kind of get started now, building for the future. How do we do that? What does that look like? So number one, audit and refine lazy experiences. Those that have worked in chat experiences, so often it's just, let's cram as much information into the databases as possible. Anything someone might want, anything someone could potentially think of. Well, as no one sees these databases of information, let's just stick it all in there. Then every question can be answered. Well, if we start surfacing that up and putting some of that information actually in front of the customers on the website, we need to make sure that vague copy, those inaccessible layout, we need to make sure everything is clear and relevant. We need to create those destinations and build with the future in mind. So, crafting narratives, building experiences, focusing on those user needs. We need to lean into collaboration. Obviously, content designers, strategists, product designers, we all think we know what the user wants. We often put ourselves in the shoes of the users, which is great from creating an empathetic experience. But we need the analytics, the SEO, the researchers. We need them to surface up the data and help us collaboratively build the best experience. And we need to think about the practical long-term implications. Like I said before, we need to build something that is sustainable. We don't just want to create the best thing now that either we won't be able to support and keep developing, or will be outdated very soon. So we need to make sure we put in enough infrastructure, enough strategies and documentations and policies to make sure that it's the best thing now and it's the best thing moving forward. And then I just want to reiterate, although this could be a scary experience and a scary thought of all these changes coming together, one thing I like to look at and think about is good design, it captures the eye. Good content, it captures the mind. Together, they win the heart. Agentic experiences can't put it all together in the way it's intended to capture the hearts and minds of our customers.